Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're on a mission. We're stepping right into the shoes of a digital detective to diagnose one of the absolutely most frustrating problems on the web: mysterious sudden drops in organic traffic. You know the exact feeling. One day, your site is just thriving, getting hits, and the next, it's like it just vanished into thin air. Well, using materials from the Harper Media Group, we're going to hunt down the silent killers of your search traffic.
And honestly, this quote really sets the stakes perfectly. A single faulty line can silently and systematically drop entire structural sections of a site from search engines within weeks. Literally, a single faulty line of text can turn your website into a ghost on the internet. The stakes for these technical SEO errors, they couldn't be higher. We're hunting for code that's practically invisible to the human eye, but acts like a massive stop sign to search engines.
So here's our suspect board for today. 1. The robots blockade. 2. The accidental no-index trap. 3. Mysterious crawl anomalies. 4. Discovered but ignored. And 5. Broken structured data. These are the 5 critical Google Search Console errors we're going to hunt down, decode, and resolve today.
All right, let's start right at the top of the list with suspect number 1, the robots blockade.
Now, what's truly catastrophic about this specific issue is that a blocked by robots.txt status is effectively a direct, undeniable order. It tells Google search spiders to just turn around and walk away. Google sees your page exists, but it complies with your instruction to ignore it. This most often happens during site updates, where a restriction rule meant to keep a testing or staging environment private accidentally gets carried straight into your live production environment.
Let's look at the typical modus operandi for these unintended indexing bans. Like, why do they actually happen? Well, the root causes usually fall into one of these 5 buckets. We just mentioned staging remnants, but another massive culprit is overly broad wildcards. That's where a developer tries to block an admin folder but accidentally sweeps up public URLs in the process. Or you might be dealing with aggressive plugin rules. This is where your localized firewall or security software generates highly restrictive dynamic rules without anyone on your team ever actually consenting to it. Crazy, right?
So, how do we take this suspect down? Well, here is your blueprint. First, you've got to open the live robots.txt file in your browser and then execute the robots.txt tester inside Google Search Console. You're looking to isolate those exact restrictive directives, those blanket parameters, and this brilliantly illustrates why you need to unblock vital page elements like your CSS and JavaScript. Search crawlers literally need those to render the page accurately, so keep your parameters tight, clean, and isolated.
Moving right along to our second suspect, the accidental no-index trap.
So the crucial point here is that someone, whether intentionally or completely by accident, commanded Google not to index the page. This directive is delivered via a meta-robots tag right in your HTML, or an x-robots tag HTTP response header. Now, don't get me wrong, this is absolutely great for a private admin dashboard or a simple thank you page. But when this tag accidentally gets applied to your core service pages, your blogs, or your key products, it silently and completely wipes out your organic traffic. And you know what the most frustrating part is? It's almost never malicious. These traps are usually just a routine update gone wrong. For example, SEO plugin configurations in tools like Yoast or Rank Math might be set to automatically no-index entire post types. Or maybe you had a simple theme layout update that injected hard-coded robots parameters straight into your header files. This archive flag leakage, or temporary code remnants, is a primary culprit behind those sudden mysterious ranking drops you often see right after a site migration.
That brings us to suspect number 3, mysterious crawl anomalies.
With this error, your server is essentially sending Googlebot mixed signals. Googlebot tries to visit the URL, but instead of a nice, clean 200 OK response, it gets a DNS failure, a server timeout, or a refused connection. And here's why this matters so much. If a page has recurring anomalies, Google will systematically deprioritize it. It reduces the crawl frequency, and eventually it just drops the page entirely.
The absolute best way to track this down is to export the error list from Search Console and group them by error type to find the cause. Usually, you're dealing with a battle between 2 main scenarios. On one side, you have server overload. Maybe you're on a cheap shared hosting plan that just gets totally overwhelmed during peak traffic. On the other side, you have firewall blocks. This is where security rules in Cloudflare or WordFence are actually accidentally blocking Googlebot's IP ranges. It happens more than you'd think.
But hey, the good news? It only takes about 15 minutes to diagnose these root obstacles.
Yep, just 15 minutes. By scanning your server log files for timestamps of the anomalies and using free-tier tools like GTmetrix or Pingdom to assess the response patterns, you can really quickly figure out if you just need to whitelist Google's IPs or finally upgrade your hosting resources.
Next up, we have suspect number 4, discovered but ignored.
Okay, this one is incredibly frustrating. The status literally reads, discovered, currently not indexed. It means your page exists, and Google knows it exists because they saw it in a sitemap or a link. But they explicitly chose to put off crawling it, which means the damage is absolute zero organic traffic for these pages, none. And because the rest of your site probably looks totally operational, this issue easily goes completely undetected unless you're doing routine audits.
So why does Google just skip it? Well, Google prioritizes crawling based on structural strength and quality. If your target page is orphaned, meaning there are absolutely zero internal anchors or structural links pointing to it, Google skips it. If the content depth is weak, shallow, or just looks like brand new boilerplate cookie-cutter text, Google flags it. Or maybe your site architecture is just bloated with too many thin pages, forcing search bots to waste their precious crawl budget on useless pages instead of your core assets.
To execute this fix, you're gonna need the right detective toolkit. Use the free tier of Google Search Console as your page's index audit dashboard. Use the free tier of Screaming Frog to trace those orphan nodes. And use the free Ahrefs Webmaster Tools for your direct structure linking diagnostics. The pro tip here? Do not stress about indexing standard tags. Sort your list and focus entirely on linking your high-priority structural pages first.
Finally, let's look at our last suspect, broken structured data.
Now here's where we actually see a massive upside. We're talking about semantic schema markup code. This is the stuff that gives you visual FAQ dropdowns, dynamic product prices, or those shiny gold review stars. Get this, pages with active review star markup typically earn up to a 30% higher click-through rate in the exact same ranking spot. But when Search Console flags an error, it means the code is there, but syntax mistakes are preventing Google from verifying it, meaning you're missing out on highly visible search real estate.
So here's your blueprint to fix it. First, track the failed schema classes right in GSC to see what Google expected. Then, paste your code into the Google Rich Results test. This will visually break down exactly where the validation is failing. Usually, you're just missing a required property, or you have a minor JSON LD syntax glitch, like literally a missing comma or an unclosed quotation mark. Just correct that syntax, and then cross-check it with the schema.org validator before you push it live.
But a quick word of warning here, because taking shortcuts can absolutely backfire. The guidelines state, spamming FAQ schemas across unrelated blogs to capture visual features is treated by Google's guidelines as manipulative. Never apply schema classes to pages they don't represent. If you try to game the system, the penalty is steep. They will suppress rich search features across your entire domain. Not worth it.
A huge thank you to the Harper Media Group for the materials that made up today's Explainer. They deliver high-performance, white-label technical SEO and structured data architecture for digital agencies. And these are the exact standard operating procedures they use to diagnose these issues.
Which leaves us with one final, absolutely crucial thought for you to take away today. After everything we've looked at, the accidental no-index tags, the mismatched wildcards, the missing commas, is a single line of text hiding your site from the world right now? I highly encourage you to open Google Search Console immediately and start your own investigation. Thanks so much for learning with us, and we'll catch you on the next Explainer.